Partial funding for Folkways has been provided by the Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation and the North Carolina Arts Council.
In our earlier series, we met Burlon Craig of Lincoln County, North Carolina. He started in pottery many years ago, making sturdy crocks, jars, and pitchers for everyday use. But somewhere along the line, he began putting faces on them. And from that time on, his reputation as an authentic folk artist was assured. We're going to pay Burlon another visit and meet some of the younger potters who are carrying on the tradition in their own style. We found Burlon back at his wheel finishing up another jug. His workshop is crammed with finished pots waiting for a weekend sale. How did you learn how to throw?
Well, nobody don't teach you to do this. You gotta do it yourself. Get your hands in the mud and go at it.
Have your style of pots changed over the years, or you're pretty much making things you've always been making?
Here was the problem. Nobody had the money to buy them. Mm-hmm. They bought what they had to have, like a churn jar, a milk crock, or a chamber pot, or something they had to have and something they used. Mm-hmm. And then after they got a little cars, better cars, while people come through here going to the mountains, and they would stop and buy a face jug or a vase or something like that, you know. And
that's when the face jugs started taking off.
That's when the face jugs took off.
What's your notion of how that face jug came about?
Well, the story is that it originated in Africa. Mm-hmm. And when they brought this, they made them, they said, as ugly as they could make them and put them on their graves, keep the evil spirits away from their kin people, loved ones. And then when they brought the slaves over here, they got to making the face jugs too.
So, Burlon, this is a groundhog kiln, right?
That's what, I guess that's the last original that I know of in the state.
Did you build it?
No.
How old is it?
It was built in 1933.
I'll be darned. And bricks, I assume, line the inside?
That's the arch is original, but I built a chimney and I built a front in it.
How many loads do you suppose you fired in there?
I wouldn't.
He couldn't even count them, huh?
I wouldn't know.
Well,
it wasn't too long ago that Burlon was one of the last potters left doing the old-style pottery. But he's inspired a whole new generation of potters who came to watch him work. Soon they wanted to try their hand at it. Kim Ellington is one of those. He lives just up the road from Burlon and has built his own pottery business.
Kim, how did you get started making this traditional style of pottery?
At first I thought it was a lost thing, that there wasn't anyone still actually making the pottery like that. And then I was informed of Burlon Craig that lives over here in Henry, and that he was still carrying on the tradition. Burlon was kind enough to let me come into his shop while he was working and be like a mouse in the corner and observe, because that's the way most potters learn, is by observation. And it was through that observation that I would see him do something, I'd go back to my shop, try it myself. When it wouldn't work, I would go back and ask Burlon, say, well, I tried this, but it didn't work. And all he would do was just give me suggestions of something to maybe try. And one thing that he made a point of, though, is that everybody's going to have to, you have to find your own way. What I show you might not work for you. A lot of people that buy my pots have no idea of the tradition behind them. And when they do find out about it, that just gives it that much more appeal.
Kim, this is an old-time kraut jar, right?
Yes, it is.
And this is what people would have used back in the old days from the 1700s on up.
Yes.
And then you've made some innovations on it. Show us one of these. Like, well, this one right here. What have you done?
This is where I've taken basically the old form, the standard form, and just changed the handles size and shape, as well as putting some decoration along the side. This decoration here is typical of a lot of the old pieces, and what I did was just take the decoration all the way down the side, and sometimes something that simple gives me my own look to it.
Also not far down the road from Burlon Craig is Charlie Lisk. He was one of the first people who came to Burlon to learn pottery.
We lived right down below him in the old Weinhardt pottery shop, which, to tell you the truth, I didn't know that this area was as renowned for its pottery as it is. Because I was from Moore County, which was born in Robbins, which is near Seagrove, and you know, where all the other potters were, and still are. He helped show me stuff on, you know, turning big pieces and the shapes and stuff.
How would he do that?
He was just sitting there turning,
And
standing there turning.
He didn't like show you how to do it. You just sort of watched what he did.
I just watched what he did, and I guess that's one of the best things I ever learned from him about turning was turning in two pieces versus trying to struggle with one piece.
Tell us how you make one of these 3-gallon jugs. What are the steps involved?
Put the whole ball on there, center it, go down, cut about a third of it off. That's a cap. Stick it off, and then I turn the bottom. Stick the cap back on, go around it, and weld it real well. And that's putting the two pieces together, welding them, and then turn it out.
That looks like very satisfying work.
Yeah, till you drop one.
Burlon's son Don has more recently taken up pottery. In contrast to Burlon, who's one of the last old production potters, Don has adopted a more artistic style.
So what is the market now for your pottery?
The market now, the customers are really educated to what they used to be. They know pottery a lot better than anybody ever dreamed 5 years ago even, especially 10 or 20 years ago. Where there was one expert, or say just a couple experts 20 years ago, now there's hundreds, or really experts on Catawba Valley pottery, and the tradition, the history. They know they can spot a piece on somebody's front porch at 50 miles an hour and tell you who made that now. A lot of people, you know.
The highly individualistic decorations Don uses lean more toward modern art than folk art, but it's still rooted in Catawba Valley traditions.
I've talked to a lot of people, and most people seem to agree that it's the uniqueness of the product. It's hard to go out here and buy something that's individually made anymore. Everybody buys stuff from Walmart, and your stuff looks like everybody else's stuff. But in a piece of pottery, especially, you have more of the individuality.
That would seem to say that almost the more standardized things get, the better your business is going to be.
I think so. Each individual artist has their own, techniques and way of doing it, and it changes. The stuff I'm doing now is nothing like I did 3 years ago, and I hope 3 years from now it's a lot better than what it is now. Hopefully keep improving. That's the wonderful thing about the pottery that I'm able to do, and the way it is evolved here in the Catawba Valley pottery. The fact that it is changing, and you can do it. There's no end to the variety of what you can do. So that's what people are looking for. They expect it. They've seen it now for all these years, I guess, and now they want that.
So this is a gas-fired kiln.
Gas-fired kiln.
And that's quite a bit different than the groundhog. Explain just a little bit about what is involved here that's not involved there.
This is natural gas. Groundhog is wood. This I can put in reduction. And a groundhog you can. Reduction is you shut the draft off, and that changes the atmosphere in the kiln. And instead of all the gas and going up the kiln, oxygen is not burned. You got raw oxygen in there, and then you get the fire coming out.
I see.
And what that does, it brings the glaze out and the color of the piece, and you'll get a richer glaze and a smoother glaze and everything. It just makes a big difference.
How long did it take you to make enough pottery to fill this?
6 weeks, 2 months. But the whole process from grinding the clay to making the pieces, them drying, the glazing, to firing it and everything, about 6 weeks to 2 months. You just have to not get in no hurry. Patience is that's the main.
Sounds like that's the name of the game of this whole business.
It is. You get impatient, you rush it, and your stuff blows up, or you ruin a kiln.
It's a good lesson to learn.
Yeah, that's a hard lesson to learn, but it is. It sure is.
Don's son Dwayne has also taken up pottery. Years of helping his father and grandfather has given him a feel for the clay and what you can do with it.
I used to sit and watch my grandfather turn all the time. I learned a lot by watching him work. Different techniques and styles of turning it out. Which he would help me while I was turning. He'd help me out, if I had problems, or I'd ask him a question. He could tell me more in one sentence what most people couldn't tell me in a month.
How is your style different from Burlon's?
Well, I'd try to go toward more the artistic type, putting more detail in my work, which he does the more traditional, like the storage jars and the jugs, what they used to use.
How is your work different from your dad's?
In a way, it's similar, but it's different because we have different styles. We don't copy each other.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do the same thing each one of us do.
You both do sculptural kinds of things.
Yeah, we both do sculpture.
How are yours different than his?
I go toward realism. Realism. That's what I'm trying to do, get closer to.
Well, let's look at one of your pieces here. The rooster. Now, is that done on the wheel, or is that, how do you do that?
Yes, this is turned in 7 pieces. The base, the bottom, the breast, the wings, the neck,